Yo, what's up everyone? Today I'm diving deep into a story that's as wild as it is real. A story that starts with something as simple as a doctor's prescription and ends up flipping my entire life on its head. Imagine this. I had just finished surgery, feeling grateful for the care and relief from the pain. Then, my doctor handed me a little piece of paper that said, "Take these painkillers." I thought, yeah, it's just medicine. But little did I know, that moment was the spark for a journey I never asked for. It all began with that one seemingly harmless prescription for painkillers after surgery. I sat there, believing it was nothing more than a routine fix to numb my pain. But oh man, I was completely off the mark. That simple act set off a chain reaction, one that blurred the lines between necessity and dependency before I could even blink. In a heartbeat, what was meant to be a tool for healing slowly transformed into a force that took control of my life in ways I never imagined possible. Now, buckle up as we rewind to that fateful moment. I'm here to expose the shocking truth behind how a routine prescription turned into the catalyst for an opioid addiction that spiraled out of control. Every word, every moment is a raw, heart-pounding testament to how close I came to losing myself. This isn't just my story. It's a wake-up call about the real dangers present in the simplest of actions. Let's jump in and unpack every twist and turn of this insane journey, starting right at the very beginning. Initial relief, feeling better. All right, so after that first miraculous dose, my life felt like it had hit the reset button. The pain was fading, and I felt like a superhero free from the chains of agony. I mean, think about it. A world where you're not tethered to discomfort, where every moment seems brighter and every challenge feels lighter. That's exactly what that prescription promised. For weeks, I basked in the relief. Finally, I could live without the shadow of constant pain. I experienced a burst of energy and hope. It was like being given a second chance at life. But here's where things take a wild, unexpected turn. The onset of dependence, warning signs. That initial relief was a double-edged sword. Slowly, without much fanfare, I noticed subtle changes that signaled something deeper was brewing. My body started to crave that magic feeling, even when the pain had completely disappeared. I began requesting extra doses, not because I was in pain, but because I missed that moment of calm and euphoria. The warning signs were there, a growing tolerance that pushed me to take more than I should, a restless feeling when it was time for the next dose, nagging sensation that something wasn't quite right. It was like chasing a high that kept slipping further away, forcing me to escalate the dosage to recapture that fleeting moment of relief. It's a dangerous cycle. What starts as a temporary fix morphs into a relentless craving. Suddenly, the clear line between healing and harm blurred, and I found myself trapped in a pattern I never meant to enter. These aren't isolated warnings. This was the turning point where a helpful remedy transformed into an addictive trap. And trust me, recognizing these signs too late can be a wake-up call that you never want to experience. Stick around, because next, I'm breaking down how quickly this dependency can spiral out of control and what you need to watch for if you, or someone you love, is walking this fine line between relief and addiction. Escalation to addiction, losing control. All right, here's where the ride takes a dark turn. What started as relief quickly morphed into a relentless need, and before I knew it, I was no longer steering my own ship. I was being dragged along by forces I couldn't fight. It began subtly, with just a little extra dose here and there. But then it escalated into a full-blown chase for that fleeting high. Suddenly, I found myself making secret runs to get more pills. Nothing was off limits if it meant catching that brief moment of calm. The control I once had over my life evaporated. I wasn't in charge anymore. The need had me in its vice grip, commandeering every thought and decision. Every moment was hijacked by the quest to replicate that initial relief, ultimately trapping me in a vicious cycle of highs and desperate lows. The impact on life. Everything changes. And then everything changed. Relationships began to crack under the pressure, and days I once spent with family and friends were replaced by isolation and endless cravings. My career, my hobbies, even my passions took a backseat to feeding the addiction. Every plan I had for a brighter future was clouded by the desperate need for the next fix. Life didn't just slow down, it derailed. I found myself sacrificing time, money, and self-respect as every waking moment was overshadowed by that monstrous habit. The addiction wasn't just affecting my body, it was erasing who I was. Moments of joy turned into moments lost. And before I knew it, the person in the mirror was a stranger, a casualty of a path I never intended to walk down. This wasn't just a bad phase. It was a total transformation of my life, a stark reminder of how something as simple as a prescription can unravel everything you once held dear. As my world turned upside down, the reality of losing control hit me hard. I had to face that every decision was no longer mine, and the cost of chasing that elusive escape was far steeper than I ever anticipated. Next, I'll break down how I reached rock bottom and the eye-opening moments that forced me to confront the devastating aftermath of this addiction. Seeking help, the turning point. There comes a moment when you hit rock bottom and realize that life is slipping away from you. For me, that moment wasn't dramatic in a Hollywood sense. It was a quiet, gut-wrenching realization. After months of spiraling, I looked in the mirror and knew something had to change. No more hiding, no more running from the consequences. I reached out for help in a way that was raw and honest. I called up professionals, joined support groups, and even checked into a rehab program despite the fear of the unknown. Admitting that I couldn't do it alone felt like the heaviest step I'd ever taken, but it was also the most liberating. That turning point was not a failure. It was the spark that ignited my journey back to life. The recovery journey, fighting back. Once I decided to seek help, the real battle began, a day-by-day fight to reclaim control of my life. Recovery wasn't an instant transformation. It was gritty, it was painful, and it demanded every ounce of strength I had. I dove into therapy sessions that forced me to confront my past, unpack old wounds, and learn new coping strategies. I started building a support network of people who understood, who cheered me on, and who never let me fall back into the shadows of addiction. Every morning, I woke up ready to fight back against the demons that tried to pull me under. I replaced old habits with new passions, exercise, reflective journaling, and reconnecting with the people I loved. And each victory, no matter how small, was a win in the war for my soul. There were setbacks, sure, but every stumble taught me that the power to rise is stronger than any addiction. I turned my pain into purpose and let every challenge fuel my determination for a healthier life. This journey wasn't just about quitting opioids. It was about rediscovering who I truly am and fighting for a bright, unbroken future. And trust me, if I can fight back from that dark place, so can you, because deep inside, we all have the power to change our story. Life after addiction, a new beginning. All right, team, this is where the real magic happens. After the relentless battle with addiction, I finally emerged on the other side, stepping into a life that wasn't defined by my past, but by the promise of tomorrow. Imagine waking up one day, looking in the mirror, and seeing not the scars of struggle, but the glimmer of hope and strength. That's exactly what happened when I decided that every moment deserved a taste of freedom instead of a craving for the next fix. I began to channel my energy into rediscovering passions that had been lost in the chaos. I reconnected with old friends, dove into hobbies that lifted my spirit, and found a newfound purpose in giving back to the community. It wasn't an overnight miracle. It was a series of small, hard-won victories that gradually transformed my outlook. Every sunrise became a reminder that I deserved a life filled with joy, creativity, and genuine connection, not one tainted by the shadows of opioid dependency. This new beginning wasn't just about quitting a bad habit. It was about rewriting my entire story. I learned to celebrate every win, whether it was making it through another day without looking over my shoulder or simply enjoying a moment of peace. Living free meant building a network of support, learning to say no when the ghost of my past knocked on the door, and finally forgiving myself for all the lost time. I discovered that the power to transform was always within me, a stubborn, unyielding spark waiting for the right moment to burst into flames. And if you're standing at the crossroads, wrestling with your own demons, remember this. Each day is a blank page. It's up to you to write a narrative filled with resilience, hope, and boundless possibility. Today, I'm not just celebrating survival, I'm celebrating a rebirth, a life illuminated by every lesson learned in the darkness. So let's keep pushing forward, because every setback is merely the prelude to an epic comeback. And every one of us has the strength to turn our pain into power. Fun facts, mind-blowing insights. Let's hit you with some jaw-dropping facts that might change the way you see the entire picture. Did you know that nearly 20 to 30% of patients who are prescribed opioids for pain management end up misusing them? Even scarier, research shows that what seems like a routine prescription can flip a switch in your brain's reward circuit in just days. That first dose might feel like a blessing, but it's actually the start of a dangerous game where your mind learns to chase that fleeting feeling of relief. Even though doctors have become more cautious over the years, these startling numbers remind you that addiction can sneak up on anyone, even when the intentions are all about healing. This isn't just cold, hard stats. It's a reality check on how delicate the balance between help and harm can be.